Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 54 of the Spy Squadron podcast.
That's us.
That's us, and today we have some interesting things to talk about.
Yes, you would have seen the thumbnail and you would have seen the title of the video. And this is our first video where we're going to talk about, I don't really have a better word for it, I guess, construction point, controversy.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about what's going on currently with the design of SWU and moving into set 3, some people's thoughts are moving into set 3, specifically around a specific leader being Boba Fett.
Yes.
And the yellow one, not the green one.
One of the clones.
So we're going to be talking about that a lot, but firstly, we're just going to cover off a couple of the new spoilers from the new set.
Mm-hmm.
We're only going to be, as we've said before, we're only going to be talking about legendaries and leaders, because we're going to have a video down the line when more stuff is spoiled, going over like our favorite cards and all that jazz.
There's a lot of really cool stuff. Go check out the databases on the official websites and stuff like that, or in the other databases that might exist. We love SWU. But we're going to cover off the legendary they've revealed so far, and we're going to cover off the 2 really cool leaders. So we're going to dive into it because it was revealed before the leaders. This man absolutely beat up Kit Fisto. It's Gore, Grievous's pet.
Absolutely. And he is a 12 cost command neutral.
He is neutral. I guess it's because he is technically an animal.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he's a creature.
He certainly is.
He's a separatist.
He's a separatist creature. That's what I would also give Grievous those tags, because that boy is a bloody creature. That's for sure.
He is a 12 cost 7/7.
That's a lot.
Sentinel, Ambush, and Overwhelm.
But he's 12. That
Yes.
doesn't seem worth it.
No, it doesn't, does it?
If only there was a way to exploit this card.
3 times even. This card has exploit 3, meaning you can kill up to 3 units for each unit you kill. You reduce its cost by 2.
Roger. Or close.
So obviously the idea is to play this guy for 6. He's ambushing in with Overwhelm and Sentinel as a 6 cost 7/7 Overwhelm Ambush Sentinel. It's pretty good. It's well statted for that cost line. The downside is you have to kill 3 units.
And unless your units have decent when defeateds that like generate bodies or something like that, like the 3 cost battle droid, it's pretty rough. I don't know how I feel about this card. I think that it's cool. I think it has interesting application, but I think that the biggest kicker with Gore is how good he is will depend on how good exploit is and how easy it is to generate tokens. Exploit on a lower scale of like exploit 1 to 2 is going to be really good, because there's like the battle droids you can sack and things like that. But when you start getting the 3, 4, 5 territory, then you're sacrificing a large portion of your board, and the effect has to be worth it. And I look at Gore and I'm like, oh, this is really cool, but if I'm playing against control, Gore's kind of useless. Whereas I've got Darth Maul from last set that still exists, and he is still really good. So I think Gore could be pretty sweet, but I still think Maul beats him out.
Yeah. I, for one, am personally looking forward to playing my mono green deck where I play down Pong Krell, and then on my next turn I sack 3 battle droids, draw 3 cards, and ambush in Gore. But at the end of the day, this isn't going to be particularly useful in a lot of decks, especially in the current makeup of SWU, where generally you don't have that much to sacrifice. We are getting into this clone and droid territory where you will have more of that leeway, but 3 creatures, even 3 droids, is going to be hard to kind of keep up and keep, especially if people know you're trying to do it.
It's going to be a tough time. I give Gore like a 2.5 out of 5. I just don't think that he is exceptional. I could be wrong. He could be super cray, but I think that 12 is just a lot. We got just a guy. Hello there.
We have Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Patient Mentor.
Patient Mentor.
It's our
So,
second Obi-Wan card.
second Obi-Wan card, and this one's a leader. So, this guy is really sexy.
Obi-Wan
But
Kenobi.
he is Force Jedi Republic. We're going to be
Best
seeing
keywords in the game,
all
baby.
3 of those keywords a lot.
Put a Jedi lightsaber on him. Put a General's lightsaber on him.
D, all the above.
Give him a lightsaber.
He has action, tap him, heal 1 from a unit.
That ain't that bad.
Not bad at all. Especially if you're playing a lot of Sentinels, you're playing a lot of stuff with blue that does like to kind of heal up a little bit.
Yeah. This leader fits a really good mid-range value playstyle, and even better, he fits a really good control playstyle, because tapping and healing 1 is a great way to pass without passing, and especially in a deck that wants to play slower, maybe is playing Sentinels and wants to heal them up, or wants a grindier game. This is a good leader. He flips at 6 as well, and he's a 4/7
He sure is.
with Sentinel.
Love to see it.
On attack, heal 1 damage from a unit. If you do, deal 1 damage to a different unit. So you can swing, heal 1 from one of your units, including him, and then deal 1 damage to one of your opponent's units.
Absolutely, and as a 4/7 Sentinel, that's pretty hard to remove immediately. So absolutely, I think this is a really interesting card. I think this falls into the same realms as kind of Luke and stuff, as these kind of mid-range blue leaders, which we see a lot of.
I definitely think it can fit a control niche, depending on the cards we get. Especially to a company, he got a card that came out called Hello There. And it does work very well with him.
It does.
It's a card similar to Make an Opening. It gives -/- to units if they enter this phase. So I think that Obi-Wan Kenobi is...
-4/-4?
It is. It gives -4/-4 to a unit that entered this phase. And because of the change of leader rules, when a leader deploys, you can -4/-4 it.
Played, yeah.
It's interesting because I think that this leader does actually suit a hero control playstyle. If we start seeing more blue cards like that, we might see a deck similar to Iden in Hero.
As soon as we see Power of the Light Side, it's over for these villains.
That would be a cool card. I wonder what it would do. Power of the Dark Side gets much worse.
It's just Power of the Dark Side, but it's Hero. That's it. That's all it is.
It gets so much worse.
It just evens the playing field in control.
But it gets so much worse this set because you just Power of the Dark Side and like, look at my droid, and you're like, ah!
Power of the Dark Side is never going to be bad.
No, but also, bye token. I think Obi-Wan's pretty rad. I think he's interesting. I'm going to give him a 3.5 out of 5 on the spot. I think he's pretty
definitely
sick.
keen to see how to build around him and see if I can build a deck that really utilizes.
And he's a well-loved character, so I don't think they'd let him down.
And I think Sentinel on Leader is just good. We're all scrolling to find the next one, so
here he is.
Oh, here
How
he
can
is.
you have Obi-Wan Kenobi without Maul?
Well, you can't. Which is why they did
Maul.
make Maul
A rival in darkness.
a Force underworld.
Yes. Well, I mean, at this point, this is him when he's taken over Mandalore.
Oh yeah, it's him right on that Mandalore throne.
Yep.
Oh, very keen for the showcase of this one, my friends.
Yeah.
But he has action, tap him, attack with a unit. It gains overwhelm for this attack.
That's pretty good.
It's very good.
He flips at 6.
He does.
He's a red villain as well. He flips at 6. He's a 6/6. He has overwhelm, and each other friendly unit gains overwhelm. So
Absolutely.
Slightly different ability than Moff Gideon. Doesn't give a buff because there's no cost restriction, but just does give overwhelm.
Yep. All friendly units.
This deck, faux show, loves ambush.
Absolutely loves ambush. Absolutely loves a card that technically hasn't been revealed yet,
Well, I mean,
but has been revealed.
in the event thing, in
Yep.
the little event box with the Maul.
Beautiful Maul.
There's Maul, the 5-cost Maul, the 5/6 that can attack 2 units at once. Give him overwhelm.
Yep. He attacks into 2 droids and deals
8 damage.
8 damage.
ECL him.
Yeah, ECL him into 2 clones and do 8 damage to their base. Thank you. And then you swing with Maul for 6 more damage at their base.
Woof. I think Maul's pretty good. I think Maul is good because any decent unit gets better. Darth Vader is now a 7-cost 5/7 ambush overwhelm. Ruthless Raider is now a 6-cost 4/6 overwhelm. So just like it, similar to how Moff Gideon plays, this is a deck that wants you to essentially become a aggro control deck by board controlling with your units. So you're building up units and you're attacking like an aggro deck, but you're not going for the base. You're killing their units like a control deck. So it's interesting.
It's one of those weird things where it's tough to see this deck doing anything but green.
Yeah.
It's like I look at this and I'm like, this is a green.
Because you just
deck.
want ECL so bad. Like flipping this and ECLing anything in. Like ECL IG11 in, and you just go kill that.
Or ping something, and then you get the overwhelm.
Yeah, and you take like overwhelmed. Like it's just, whew, like again, fifth brother in this deck's really, really good because you can swing, ping something, he gets a damage, he gets raid 1, that's been pinged. You've got overwhelm, so you're getting an extra extra 2 damage across because you're minusing 1 from their health pool and plussing 1 to his damage pool, effectively overspilling 2 more damage. That's awesome. Like that's really good.
Very, very good.
So I think that it's really good. And they released a Savage card. He's pretty cool. He can come in ready, and he's a 7/7. So obviously he's designed to be played after you play Maul. He comes in untapped. He's got overwhelm because of his brother, and they swing in. He deals a bunch of damage. So I think this is really cool. I think Maul is super applicable to a lot of things. I feel like he's going to be a decent leader in the vein of the fact that he's just genuinely simple and really strong. So
absolutely. I think I'm really excited to build around this. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what we can do with this kind of overwhelm style that we've started to see with all the stuff like ruthlessness and the red in set 2 is now definitely getting that extra bump in set.
I agree.
And it's another leader that isn't Vader. That's a big red leader, not that low. We've gotten a little low to the ground aggro with red, but now that big aggro is going to come back, and I really like that.
I think I ultimately give him a 4 out of 5 because I think overwhelm's a really good skill. I think being able to early game overwhelm's really nice, and I think that being able to flip him and then use ECL to great effectiveness. Essentially, this leader allows you to Wrecker in villain because you can ECL in something and it has overwhelm now. Just like how Wrecker does. So if we get anything decently strong, I think it would work amazingly. So I think Maul's pretty good. They also, before we move on to the episode, showed off 3 pieces of pack art. Pack art is traditionally leaders, and the artwork was Commander Cody.
We assume he's probably going to be a green hero.
Asajj Ventress.
Which we assume is probably going to be the other aggression, possibly
yellow. Yeah, she could possibly be yellow. And Yoda, I got my wish.
You got to assume it's the other blue.
Yeah, that's a blue rare leader. Yeah. I'm very happy with that because I think way back when we were originally I hope tokens are in the set. I also said I hope we get a Yoda leader. So I'm very keen about that.
Awesome.
But yeah. Let's move into Boba. There's another card that I'm sure you guys are like, whoa, you missed it. We haven't, because it directly feeds into what we're going to talk about. But
absolutely.
Let's just start from the top. Boba Fett.
Boba Fett is a leader of set 1, Spark of Rebellion. He has the ability tap. When an opponent's unit leaves the battlefield, tap him. Untap a resource.
That's his front side.
Flips at 5.
Yeah.
Is a 4/7. And has the ability, if a unit has left the battlefield this phase...
When he completes an attack.
Untap 2 resources.
Ultimately, the untapping is very good. It really is. The front side is fine. The back side is that's a good leader, but that's fine. Flipping at 5. He's still the most overstated leader in the game, and we're nearly 3 sets in.
And I think a lot of this is... So in set 1, Boba was very prevalent. Boba Green was very prevalent. Towards the end, Boba Yellow kind of took over the moniker and became the more prevalent situation. As we moved into set 2, Boba got the most support, and I don't think anyone would... argue this point.
No.
The most support of any of the set 1. Well, that's a lie. Probably Chewbacca got the most support, but
Wookiees don't generally count towards the Chewbacca leader.
Yeah.
Whereas Boba got actual support. He got another
Yeah.
named card in his colors.
Mhm.
Like, he got a named item in his colors.
Yep.
And, like, you can say as much as you want that was meant for the green leader. Why isn't it green? It was not meant... It was not meant for the green leader. It was meant for the yellow leader.
It was meant for both, but I feel like they just kind of went with yellow because they expected people to go green-yellow with...
And, you know, we might get another Boba leader in the future because he's a more of a yellow-coded character, but still, ultimately...
So, the main thing is he's been very relevant in current talks in SWU at the moment.
That's not slowing down.
And a lot of tournaments have seen a lot of Boba in the top card, especially this Boba Yellow that's going around, that has actually changed from set 1 from a kind of more mid-range aggro deck to just full aggro, utilizing things like Toro Bounty Hunters to be able to get lots of swings in.
Oof. Good
then
combo.
having those huge momentum cards like Cunning and Cantina Bouncer and Waylay, that can wreak havoc on your opponent with such little effort, especially on Boba's part.
Yeah.
So I think one of the biggest plays against a lot of decks at the moment is that turn 5 is actually nuts. A lot of the time what will happen is it'll be something along the lines of Cantina Bouncer, bounce that important thing that you just played, untap a resource, deploy Boba, swing with Boba, untap 2 resources, pay 3, play another unit.
Or, you know, you've got Toro on the board. You swing with, you know, you play Cantina Bouncer, bounce something, untap 1. Swing Toro. Play a 1-cost Bounty Hunter, untap Toro, swing Toro. Flip Boba, swing Boba, untap 2, pay 2, Boba's armor. I think, to get down to the crux of it, you might be sitting here going, well, guys, you're just whinging. And that's fair at first value, but let me make a few points to you. Boba Fett is a leader that came out in set 1, and he has consistently overshadowed other leaders in his colors. When was the last time you saw Thrawn played? When was the last time you saw a Cad Bane played? And don't even get me started on Afra. When you build yellow villain in this game, there is no other option. When you build yellow in this game, a lot of the time, even if you're like, I want to play a hero deck, why? When all your best pieces are in villain. The problem with Boba is not that, oh yeah, but you know, Sabine's really prevalent. Yeah, but Sabine's not the only red hero green aggro deck out there. We've seen Han Weenies coming up. You know, we've also got Han 2 blue. We've got Red Ray. Like, there's a lot of other red hero aggro decks. There's a lot of other red villain aggro decks, like Rant Vader still going on, mono red Kylo, mono red GI. But yellow in this game, there isn't. Really? No one's really splashing yellow.
Yes, you probably have seen a Cad Bane around the place. Cad Bane is probably the second most relevant.
We're talking more in a high-level competitive sense, where recently, if you look at tournament statistics, in top 16s, you can see a variety of maybe Sabines, Palpatines, Han 2s, you know, Rays. But when you find yellow, aside from that one tournament where that Han yellow deck won, and now people have kind of figured out how to beat that. It's a good deck. Problem is, it's very gimmicky. Once you learn how to play against it, you can get it. It's Boba. It's just Boba. In a recent event, a Palpatine won, because Palpatine's really good against Boba. But Palpatine's not really good against anything else. Mm-hmm. But Boba is. And Boba's great against everything. And it was, the top 8 was like 4 to 5 Bobas, maybe 1 to 2 Palpatines, and like 1 to 2 Sabines. Yeah. And I think that, from my perspective, that's not great. Because I think that my biggest problem is when I'm building yellow in this game, I constantly just think to myself, but why not Boba? He's just the best. I could build a Thrawn deck. Why would I bother? I could build a Cad Bane deck. Sure, but I'd just be running all the same pieces as Boba, and he's just going to do it better. But when I'm building a Sabine deck, there are cards that I would include in that deck that I wouldn't include in Han 2. There are cards that Han 2 would include that wouldn't include Sabine. And that's like the divide where it's like, cool, I want to run Maz, I'll build Han. Or I want to run my Rebel packages, I'll build Sabine. I want to run yellow. What yellow cards do I want to run? Well, I want to run Greedo. I want to run Cunning.
Yeah. And in no way is the conversation one of Boba is an unbeatable monster.
No, he's not
because
an unbeatable
it isn't.
monster.
And he is beatable.
Yeah.
The problem comes when I go, I'm designing set 4 of Star Wars Unlimited. I want to make this really cool piece that synergizes, that's really strong, but also is kind of a fit for the Thrawn deck. It really works well for that. But I can't make it as good as I want to make it.
That's too good in Boba Fett.
Because it's just too good in Boba Fett. It limits design choices going down the road.
And that's the biggest thing. I can beat Boba Fett. Do I personally enjoy playing against Boba Fett? Not really. A lot of people share the sentiment that it feels like a bit of a slog to play against that deck. And it is like, I've spoken with lots of people who are like, I play against Sabine and at least it's a quick game. Or I play against Palpatine and I feel like I can claw it back. Playing against Boba, it does feel like a slog. And I guess maybe that's just playing against yellow. But that's all yellow is right now. And we can't really adequately say that because we don't really have a large pool to test from because it's just Boba. And I think that's the biggest thing is it limits design space in the sense that there was a base that released for set 3. We have passive bases. How cool is that? It's a yellow base. I can't remember what it's called. It's the Geonosis Arena. It's got 26 health and it has a passive ability. Each leader unit you control gets +1/+0. Initially, you might be thinking, awesome, passive bases, that's great, that's really cool, super cool, interesting thing. I give this card a 2 out of 5 on the Spy Summoner in general. But when I saw this card, my general initial thoughts on this card are like, it's fine, it's a fine base. Yellow's just got another rare base. But the first thing I thought when I saw this card was, man, this is really good in Boba. Like, this is not great in any other deck. But this makes Boba so gross because on the turn he flips, he's a 5/7. And then you put the armor on him, and he's a 7/9. And then you just suddenly have a deck where Boba, even in the mirror match, can kill Toro Calicans, can kill Cantina Bouncers. It gives him a break point he didn't need.
And I think the biggest thing is just the conversation around it.
Yeah.
At the moment, and I'm sure you've heard this at your locals, and I'm sure you've heard it on the internet,
Locals.
and I'm sure you're...
Reddit!
Discord. It's a big thing at the moment, which is why we're discussing it. And the question becomes, is this enough of a problem to do something about? Or is this something that is going to fade out as we see we're going to see some more cards in set 3 and go, oh, okay, no, I see what's going on here. And it's all fine. Or is it something that needs to have something done?
And my honest answer with that, I don't know. I don't know yet. And that's what we're kind of here to discuss. What options there would be, what options would be fair, what options we would like, what options we would not like. And in no way we advocate, and I think the first thing and the most prevalent thing here is ban him. Don't ban him. Banning him would be so silly.
Yeah.
Yellow still needs the variety of leaders, and removing a key leader like Boba Fett would suck. I know I've said it's a slog, and you might be sitting there going, but why are you saying this now? I don't hate Boba Fett. Yes, I think that currently playing against him is a slog, but my main reason for that thinking is just because of the turn he flips. And that's the most annoying part. A lot of the time, if you're playing against Boba and you can make a huge impact on the turn he flips, you actually win that game. A lot of the time.
The issue with Boba, though, is if you deal with Boba, you don't win the game. Is the other thing.
Yeah.
Boba because Fett's Fire Spray exists, which is and I'm going to put it out there, the best game closer ever.
Yeah.
In Star Wars Unlimited is the best game closer because it's ready for 5 damage, which nothing else can do that kind of damage.
By itself, it's really good. Then you stack on New Adventures.
So you play it the next turn, you swing with it, you bounce it, you swing with it again,
Yeah.
and you've done 15 damage over 2 turns with this one
That's
card.
a wacky tobacco, but I think you're right. A lot of the time though, you do like I've played games where I've managed to kill Boba and I've won, and that's really
Absolutely.
good.
It is possible to beat. We've said that
But you
before.
got to be on top of your game, and like there are always decks that are going to be like that. But the problem is having such a constant like this. So my big thing is playing against Iden can be really exhausting, but playing Iden is really exhausting. Playing against Boba can be exhausting, but playing Boba's not that exhausting.
No, as it's moved towards like kind of a straight aggro deck, a lot of those, like a lot of the, its plays
Complexity,
have become
it's
a little
a
bit
linear.
more linear.
Yeah, its
and,
complexities have dropped and its options have become more straightforward. You know what Boba's going to do. And again, you might be sitting there going, well, if you know what he's going to do, counter it. It's actually just not that easy.
Yeah, he has so many tools under his belt that countering one part of his deck doesn't counter the whole deck.
No. And I think that when in this game where all of the other 5 flip leaders are statted well, and you have one leader that is demonstrably overstatted, he is still, nearly 3 sets in, the single best statted leader in the game.
Oh, absolutely.
He's overstatted for his cost, and on the turn he flips, you get play extension out the wazoo. I think that a good solution would be errataing Boba to flip at 6, because his stats befit that, and I think his ability's fine, and I think that ultimately there are more answers for your opponent to deal with, but it doesn't diminish the strength of Boba and adds a more tactical element where you need to properly think about how you're going to flip him and just make sure that all the stops are out. Boba won't get any less strong, it'll just require more player skill to pilot, and it gives your opponents more options to take care of it. And you might be sitting there going, but he's the only thing that keeps Sabine in check. He'll still keep Sabine in check because she can already deal with Boba Fett at 5, but you have to run very specific cards that not a lot of other decks have access to.
And now, that is the next solution we kind of find ourselves stumbling across.
Yeah.
The errata solution. Now, the issue with erratas comes from player knowledge. Erratas are huge, and if you start doing them, it's a steep slope, and it's really, really tough sometimes to know the line, and it's not a simple decision, and it should never be a simple decision to errata something. Because, and I've had a situation, I had a few friends talking about this recently, not you.
Oh.
I have other friends, Reese.
No, I don't.
That's a lie. They talk about this. So there's another card game called Flesh and Blood. Now, there was talk of somebody going to a tournament and they did something one way and they went, I'm so confused. This is what the card says, and called a judge over. And so most people, when they saw that and they looked at the card, they went, yep, that's how that works.
Reading the card explains the card. Until it doesn't.
The card was errated way back when, and they just had a pre-errated version of the card. They had one of the alpha versions of the card. And so this was pre an errata that had happened. This player didn't play throughout that time.
Yeah.
So didn't play through that change in that errata, but just picked up those cards and played those cards as written. And as soon as you get players to buy your cards and play your cards, and they read the card, and the card does something, and they go, that's what it does, and you go, oh, actually, the card does say that.
But it doesn't do that.
You've lost them.
Because then they start going, okay, well that sucks. I built my whole deck around this. How many other cards in my deck do this? How many other cards in the game are like this?
Yeah.
And it's tough because it's a quality of life improvement for current players. It is a confusing thing for new players.
Yeah.
And that's real tough.
It's really, really tough. And I think it's one of those situations where the risks almost, like pretty much, I would say, outweigh the rewards. And I think errata cards should be saved for very, very, very important circumstances. There should be very few times, because it's easy to fall upon as a crutch.
Yeah, just errata it.
But it's not that simple. And it shouldn't be that simple.
Yeah. Errataing is a negative for the casual player. And it can be a positive for the competitive player. Because if you're a competitive player, you're keeping on top of it. You know everything. A lot of the time you live and breathe this game, like us.
Hello.
But if you're a casual player and you just go on your locals every now and again, it can be frustrating when you open a card and you're like, this is really cool, and you play it, and then your opponent goes, actually, it doesn't work that way. And then you have
actually the errata of 1232?
And then you have like a weird conversation with them where you're like, oh yeah, but it does say this, and they go, but it doesn't anymore. And then you're like, okay, why not? And then you have to have that weird conversation where they are like, I know better than you, and then you have to go through it, check the website, and then you're left feeling dissatisfied. And I personally do think that Boba may need an errata, and I think that would be the easiest way to fix him. But Set 3 isn't fully released yet. I think if Boba Fett continues to be a prevalent leader into the end of Set 3 and beginning of Set 4, perhaps it's something that needs looking at. I don't enjoy playing against him right now. There will always be decks I don't enjoy playing against. And that is something that I as a player need to adapt to. I can't call for a ban or an errata every time I don't like playing against a deck. And as I said earlier, it's a slog. There's a lot that it's annoying and it's frustrating and it can be difficult to play against. When Iden came around in Set 1, she was frustrating and difficult to play against. But I didn't say she needed an errata or ban. I think the problem with Boba is that yes, it's frustrating. And yes, all my points are valid when I say I don't like playing against it. But the main principle of why I don't like the current vibe of Boba Fett is because I'm worried for when yellow cards get released, I don't want him to overshadow them.
Every yellow villain card that gets released will be seen through the lens of Boba before anything else that's revealed. And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It is exhausting having to have that situation. Do I think Boba was a mistake? No.
Nah.
Do I think Boba needs a ban or errata? Me personally, no. I think that we're not at that point yet, and I think moving into Set 3 is when we'll learn whether Boba is a problem or whether Boba is fine. I think that is the biggest thing.
I think currently, I'm, as much as I want to say yes, I'm in the camp of no. I don't think he needs an errata right now. I think that would be the most effective fix for him if he ever becomes a problem. And I think that he is a leader that could... I think right now he's Schrodinger's Boba. He both is and isn't the biggest problem in the game, and it highly depends on what Set 3 looks at. Currently, the problem therein lies with the sets is Thrawn is a weird deck that isn't an Imperial deck. He's a control-ish mid-rangey deck. Yeah. But Boba does control-y mid-rangey better. Afra is a special case. And then your other yellow leader is Cad Bane. Now, Cad Bane is an underworld bounty hunter. Boba Fett is an underworld bounty hunter. And a lot of the good underworld bounty hunters are run in both decks. The problem is the utilization and utility comparatively between Boba Fett and Cad Bane is just that Boba's better because his flips earlier, he's better statted, and yeah, you might not always use the untap, but it's probably better than a selective ping from your opponent, and the body a lot of the time outweighs Cad. And that's the problem we currently face, is there's too much overlap with Boba and the current leaders that make him the clear victor. Now, to me, my third favorite Star Wars character is the hero here, General Grievous. He comes in genuinely because he is a yellow villain leader, but he is a yellow villain leader that you can build around without considering Boba Fett. Because do I want to build a deck that's based around separatists? Yes. And droids, yes. Boba Fett may not actually benefit that in its current iteration. Now, it could very well if we get some gross exploit cards coming out.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
And this is what we're talking about. Boba Fett moving into set 3. If I can make a better Separatist deck
Then General
with
Grievous.
Boba Fett than I can with a yellow villain Separatist leader, then Boba is a problem.
Yeah,
because he's so generic and so good that his synergies don't matter.
Yeah, and that's a huge problem. Like, if you can go awesome, exploit droids, commandos, and it works better in this than it did in Grievous.
Just because you get an extra resource here or there, and then an extra 3 on turn 4.
That's really bad. But if General Grievous ends up becoming a deck where it's like, well, I'm building Separatists, so my choices are between Grievous and the inset Separatist leader for yellow, no brainer. That's good. That is actually a really good thing, because that means you in set 3 can go awesome. 2 paths is better than 1 path. I want to play yellow villain in set 3. Well, my options are Boba Fett or yellow Separatist. Yeah. And that is twice the amount of options you have for yellow villain currently.
Yeah, and it's one of those situations where that's what, to me, what's going to kind of decide where I lie on the camp of what happens with Boba. And I've played a bit of Boba. I've played a lot of Boba online. I understand the deck and I understand what's going on with it. So it's not like a case where
we have played a lot of
Boba. It's like I like playing Boba. I like Boba. I like playing Boba. I'm one of those weird players who's like, I don't like playing the meta decks. So I haven't played a lot of like locals and stuff, and we have a lot of people who do. The problem is, even if a deck is fine, right? A deck is balanced. It's balanced in the meta. It's on the high side of the meta, but it's still balanced. Yep. But every second game you play against it at your locals, that becomes a problem. Yeah. And in that way, Boba being a very accessible, because the only legendaries you really need are Cunnings.
Yeah, you don't even need to run the 3 costs. Like, a lot of people are phasing Disintegrator out because he's slow.
He's slow. The only 3 legendaries you really need are Cunnings. So it's a very accessible deck and a very powerful deck. And so it's very prevalent, even more so now than Sabine, which has started to have to run Wrecker and Poe, and
we have a fairly competitive locals, to be completely honest. And once again, I've played Boba as well, so we're not just talking from like, I'm not just sitting here being like, I don't like Boba because he beats me. I've played Boba. I've beaten people with Boba. I've beaten Boba. It's just, but it's like almost every second game at locals now. Like, I've not seen a Sabine in ages.
I actually haven't either,
Yeah, I have not seen a Sabine. Like, the 2 green-red aggro decks at our locals last week were 2 green-red Han players. I was one of them. That was the aggro decks. There was like 5 Boba Fetts there.
No, absolutely. And the other problem comes in the deck building process, that every single deck that I play and I build needs to have an answer to Boba.
Yeah.
Every single deck that I have needs to have those slots to have an answer for Boba. Because if I don't, then I'm just gonna lose to him, and I'm gonna go 2-2 because I've asked 2 Bobas in my locals, and that's tough as well. Because it's also the fact we're always thinking about Boba. You're always thinking, all right, I can make this cool deck. Wait, no, never mind. Need to take some of the fun stuff out to put the counters to Boba in. Otherwise, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
So.
And a lot of those counters, really expensive. Poe Dameron is one of them. Wrecker is one of them. Yeah, Wrecker's a rare, but he's like a $10 rare. Poe is expensive, man. He's a great legendary, and there's a reason for that. But he also is one of the direct counters to Boba Fett, because he can get rid of the armor and one-shot Boba with an ECL on the turn he flips. Yeah. And that's great. But it's like your opponent's Boba deck costs them like $80 with the Cunnings. Your deck costs you like $200 for like 3 Poes. So it's like, it's not... And I think James is right where, like, I'm building decks, and every now and again I have to be like, okay, am I red? Nope, cool. I'm going to run collect evidence if I'm blue, or if I'm mono green, I'm literally just going to put 3 confiscates in to be able to deal with Boba's armor.
Because Boba's armor just wins games, essentially. It's one of those cards that just is... In the competitive matchups, and Boba can fall off a little bit and be like, this isn't particularly useful.
But in Swiss...
But in Swiss rounds, against a lot of the chaff, Boba's armor is a game-winning card.
And I think this leads me to a point that I want to talk about. Boba Fett in set 1, straight up, was not that bad. Like, legitimately, playing against Boba Fett in early set 1, and even late set 1 when it was mono yellow, legitimately, totally fine. Like, it was a great deck, super competitive, really, really good to play against. Genuinely, actually, the control-y mid-rangey variant, not a slog to play against. Not a slog to play. I enjoyed it. When Boba's armor came out, that's when things got bad. Because Boba flipping with all the new toys, like, if I look at the current Boba deck and have Boba's armor there, and I'm just like, awesome, cool. The deck's probably still not even that bad. Boba's armor just elevated it to a new height.
Yeah.
And I think, again, you might be sitting there going, well, why don't we just ban Boba's armor? Because I want to highlight that you still need to pay attention to the rest of the video of the fact that even without Boba's armor, Boba's still real good, and you would still have that
I think banning Boba's armor would create a lot of space to work around, and so eliminating one of the threats of Boba allows you to focus on countering the other threats a lot more, and then you get that moment where you're like, awesome, now I can deal with the deck a lot easier without having 4 different counters to all 4 stages of Boba.
But then again, it's like, but what about my cool green Boba deck that just wanted to run Boba's armor? And what if I pull Boba's armor? It's a rare in my pack and it's banned.
Yeah. I think the best thing at the moment is going to be waiting.
Yeah.
And I think having faith in FFG to... If it becomes... I don't think it's a problem at the moment. I think it's frustrating at the moment.
Yeah.
I think I understand people's anger towards it, but I think there are ways to counter it. There are ways to get around it. There are ways to beat it. And so right now, to answer the question that this video poses, I don't think FFG have a Boba problem.
Not yet.
I do think FFG could have a Boba problem come next set if there isn't any, if he somehow gets more support.
Yeah, and which I'm a little worried about because Jango Fett will be maybe in this set. At least it's a theory because we got the Geonosis. So my current theory is that Jango Fett will be in this set because of Fire Spray and the Geonosis Arena. I might be right, I might be wrong.
A yellow Jango Fett that's even better than Boba, so Boba gets kicked out of the meta.
If Asajj is a yellow villain, I actually think Jango might be the rare red villain. But I don't know that for certain, and Jango could just not be in this set. But if Jango is in this set, and we see another card that comes out that's like, if you have Jango Fett or Boba Fett, I think that's too much. I think 3 sets in a row getting named support for a character is a bit much. And I want to pose a little anecdote. You may know that we play Dragon Ball Super card game. And the reason that we may be so concerned about this and that you might be sitting there the whole time like, what are these? Do these guys even know what they're talking about? Yes. That game released a leader. And that leader became, legitimately not joking, you can ask anyone you'd like, that leader became the only leader in the game.
Yeah, it kind of did a thing where it ran almost, it did a very similar thing to Boba where it ran any engine better than the intended leader would run that engine. Yeah. And that is what set 3 is going to teach us. Yeah. It's going to teach us, because right now, we got Boba Fett in the set that he came out in, and then we got Bounty Hunters and Underworld. to fully support
So
him.
it could just be the effect that set 1 was like Boba's just good value, and there wasn't a lot of cards. And set 2, his card pool got expanded because it directly supported his archetypes. And set 3, Boba doesn't get anything, and other decks get stronger because of it. And Boba's totally fine. And that, to be honest, is probably what the most likely outcome is.
Yes.
But there is also the chance that it couldn't be. Now, I'm concerned just from a design perspective and from a perspective of I didn't like the Super Saiyan 3 Dragon Ball era, which is what that card was, where everyone played that deck, a new set would release, and for like 4 or 5 sets, it was like 3 sets actually.
Yeah, it was
like for like, which is a lot. Like for a solid 3 sets, the engines would come out and everyone would just be like, this leader does this with this better, because it would untap resources and draw a bunch of cards, and it would flip really early and
do a bunch of stuff
similar to Boba. The difference is it could run everything unrestricted with those engines, whereas Boba may not be able to. And I find Boba frustrating in the current. I personally don't like playing against him a lot. That doesn't mean that it's a bad deck. That just means that's my personal opinion. And I share those frustrations with a lot of people, but I also do want to make sure that there is a voice of reason in this, that FFG is up to set 10.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I have faith, and that's why I've said, I don't think he should be banned. I don't think he should be rated. I don't think there's a call at the moment
Not yet.
strong enough to... as I said, the answer to the question posed for this, to me, is no. There isn't a problem yet.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing that we're going to end this podcast on. We have talked a lot about the issues that Boba has and how strong he is and the problems that he could pose. But at the end of the day...
He's not there yet.
He's not there yet.
He's not there yet.
And I think that he's still a fair and balanced leader at this stage. And moving into set 3 is where we're really going to learn what situation we're in.
You can't be at set 10 and not realize it's a problem. And I think that's a big point for me, is it's frustrating to play against. I share your sympathies out there, everyone who thinks it's a slog. And yes, as much as I would love it personally for Boba Fett to be errated to a 6-cost flip, I don't think that you, like, realistically looking at it, removing my opinion, that's just not something that needs to happen right now. I can consistently beat Boba as a player. And that is proof enough that it is not a deck that it is a problem. Because, it's my hardest matchup and it's so annoying. But I can beat it and I can do it on a consistent basis. So he's not a problem yet. And I think that they're too far in development where if he was a problem, I think something would have been done before we even saw him.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing.
I think at the end of the day, we both have faith in FFG to be able to pull this off.
We love FFG.
And in the way where I think this sooner rather than later, we're going to start to see Boba be like, okay, cool, it's fine. But I think he's always, until we reach the inevitable point where rotation starts to come into this, we don't know when that's starting to happen, but where there are
he could just go away.
Rumors of that cards aren't going to rotate, only leaders are going to rotate.
Yeah, we don't trust rumors around here. Which
is a whole thing, but I think that's going to be something where rotation comes in, Boba goes away, we remember him as a fond memory of a thing that we worried about.
If it happens and Boba rotates out, whatever. I think, again, a big problem with the current set with Boba is, like, Thrawn had no identity, Boba overlapped too much with Cad Bane, and Afresh had no support.
Yeah.
So...
No, she didn't.
She didn't have support.
She didn't have any support.
So your options are really limited because realistically you're like, I can build a fun Thrawn deck and it's probably not going to be good because he doesn't really have much of an identity. I can build a fun Afra deck. She doesn't have enough support to be good. And then you go, I have Underworld Bounty Hunter cards, and I got Cad Bane, and I got Boba Fett. Who's going to use them better? Boba Fett.
And it was close for a bit there.
It was, it really was. When Cad Bane came out, you go watch the episode. I think this leader could replace Boba in how good he is. Unfortunately, I was wrong. He still is really good. Cad Bane can still do a lot of stuff. He's really fun. But in a competitive environment, he just gets overshadowed by Boba because Boba just uses the pieces that Cad wants slightly better.
And then gets Fitz Fire Spray.
Ooh, fire spray.
But yeah,
and we're going to get 3
villain cunning
Yeah, we are.
leaders in set 3.
Did
We know one of them already, and he's going to be good and fun to play with.
I love him. I love him. I
and
love
then we're
General
going to get
Grievous.
2 more. At the end of the day, I think Boba's going to be strong in set 3. I think he's going to be like a 1.5 tier leader.
The more options you have to play in yellow villain, the weaker Boba Fett gets. And not in the sense that I think, like, once more variety comes into yellow villain, you'll see Boba less, and then you'll feel less bad. Something that when something sucks and you see it a bunch, you're gonna want it to go away.
Yeah.
But when something sucks and you see it once, maybe twice at your locals a week, you're gonna be like, Boba.
Nah.
I'll just play out of my mind for this game and it'll be all good. And I think that's the big thing is like if you're playing against Boba 3 times in a row, you're going to be like, I hate this, I never want to see it again. But if you play against Boba once at your locals a week, you're going to be like, man, I've made it to the top tables.
Yeah. But that's our thoughts on the situation. If you have thoughts on the situation,
Comment
your
them.
thoughts on Boba, your thoughts on whether he needs to be fixed, and if so, how you would go about fixing him, chuck a comment underneath.
Because we'll discuss.
And we will.
Like,
We'd love to hear your opinion on it. It's a subject that's close to our hearts. We've talked about it a lot with our locals and between ourselves. So we'd love to know what your opinion is on the matter. Be it similar to ours, or be it ban him, he's got to be banned.
Get him out of
Tell us
here.
why. Tell us how. Tell us now.
Yep. Because we'll respond. We'll have a conversation with you. I mean, I've got notifications on my phone for YouTube. But we'd love to have a discussion with you. Pop it down in the comments, subscribe, and see what happens in the future. When Boba doesn't become a problem or does, we'll probably make an update video. So
go check out the gameplay where neither of us are playing Boba, but one of us is playing someone who starts with Bo. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.